The Jericho Appreciation Society starts off with their championship celebration, and the whole group is out in these purple suits, including emo Daniel Garcia in the back, who just is like being brought by dad to like the family reunion in costume. And there in the ring is the returning Luigi Primo as there are pizzas set up for the celebration, and he's just spinning the dough throughout this segment. Parker insults Philadelphia. Menard called the pizza guy, and Luigi Primo says he made the best pizza from New York City. And then Menard says, "No pizza for you." And the crowd chants, "We want pizza." Anna Jay did her screaming promo and called Jericho the greatest ROH champion of all time. And Jericho says he's the most honorable man in AEW, the most viewed ROH champion ever, because no one knows about Ring of Honor. Which brought me back to when Christopher Daniels held the ROH television title, and Ring of Honor they were in between television deals of some sort. So he called himself the television champion because he was still working with Impact at the time. He's like, "I'm the only guy now that's on television." And thus he was, anyway, television champion. Yeah. I'm sure this is the tie-in you were seeking here. From 2011.
Sure.
He then says that this is the era of the Ring of Jericho and explains why Bandito is getting this match tonight. He never got a rematch after losing the title, and put him over as one of the best wrestlers in the world. But sports entertainers always beat wrestlers, and refers to sports entertainer Daniel Garcia. And Jericho got him a gift. The crowd is chanting, "You're a wrestler." And he got Daniel Garcia a purple bucket hat, and Daniel Garcia just looks deflated at this goddamn hat that he has been handed. So he takes the hat off, throws it down, and then Garcia decks Luigi Primo, who died on the spot. He never regained consciousness throughout this segment. He says this isn't him, he's had enough, and I've got something to tell you. And Jericho cuts him off, telling him to think first, because with us, you could be bigger than ever. But if you go against us, I'll take you out. Are you a sports entertainer or are you a pro wrestler? And out comes Big Brother, Bryan Danielson, and he respects Garcia and says, "You can do whatever you want. You can stay with the Jericho Appreciation Society. You can come join us. You can train with us. You can train with them." And Jericho tells him to shut up. He's sick of Danielson trying to poach his talent. There's going to be no poaching in AEW, okay? No poaching. And Jericho says that Garcia does what he says. So Garcia cuts him off. "I don't belong to you, and I'm not going to do anything you tell me." And he asks, what would be entertaining? Me spinning pizza dough with Luigi? Teaming up with Justin Roberts? Or maybe it would be entertaining if I teamed with Danielson against you and Sammy Guevara. And the crowd gets really excited about this. But Menard cuts in, threatens to deck Danielson, and Danielson has been given the power to make a match, so he challenges Menard, and they have a match, an impromptu one, a rare impromptu match on Dynamite, and that was our first segment.
I thought it was a really fun opening segment. You know, this was our first instance of getting to see Chris Jericho as the face of Ring of Honor, and I really liked it. You know, as much as I don't know how much like people hold on to the sanctity of ROH as, I don't know, a pure professional wrestling thing, but that's kind of what makes all of this brilliant. It's the irony of a sports entertainer holding, you know, the professional wrestlers world championship. As much as I wanted Claudio to be like the face of this company, I mean, it's charisma, it's personality, it's star power, and it's a voice that, you know, this brand needs right now. You know, Ring of Honor has kind of been in the AEW stratosphere for quite some time, but we can honestly say that championship, I mean, it doesn't even feel, you know, secondary. Like it feels like it's sometimes beneath the TNT championship. So you need the star power of a Chris Jericho in order to bring this brand to the forefront. Jericho, as somebody who's already a principal character with a lot of mic time in AEW, he's essentially like helping provide a weekly commercial for ROH every single week. He's making him the title a focal point of the story. I love calling it Ring of Jericho. It's so simple and so brilliant. We didn't think of it before. And you know, the storyline that you called last night, John, or on Monday, of him working through the ROH champions, I think is absolutely brilliant. Garcia is playing the role really well too. You know, I think he's almost so anti-Jericho right now that it's almost like my wrestling logic tells me that, we're just planning for a swerve here. But I think it's being built and teased to like a healthy, appropriate level right now.
Yeah, I think it's a great angle to go with the R-Ocho. R-Ocho-H.
Don't know about that.
There's something there. That's a building block. But my hope is that this can only climax with one matchup, and that is not Bryan Danielson, but Chris Jericho on TBS opposite Loki.
I don't know if that's happening. I mean, it's sure, why not? What's Xavier doing? How many?
Xavier has passed. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't even mean that. Apologies.
But it will. There are definitely, to the other point though, I mean, when you look at the amount of people that they have access to, there's tons. Like, you could do this for quite a long period of time. And like, being serious, I think like the end of like it being Joe, like that's a great thing to build to. You've kind of planted the seeds for that with Jericho.
Can you name all of them right now that are currently on the roster? Daniels.
Let's take a look here.
Danielson, Daniels. I mean, Claudio. Let's
Claudio, go backwards here. So like you have Gresham, who, I mean, you can certainly
coming back.
Well, it's like he's someone that's out there.
He's not coming back to lose to Jericho, in my opinion.
You did Bandito. Roosh is there. PCO you could get. Roosh, Matt Taven, Jay Lethal, Dalton Castle. Cody would
Matt
not be
Taven
available.
coming back. Yeah, I could see that.
Cody, Daniels, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Cole, Lethal, Jay Briscoe, Michael Elgin, Jay Briscoe again, Kevin Steen, no, Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards. Like there's tons here. Like you could certainly do this. Like it's only a handful that you would not have access to because they're in WWE or have retired.
And to make this point, you only need a handful. Like, for the duration of this story, you make I think even 4 or 5 is enough, more than enough. So yeah.
Could we get Jericho and Jerry Lynn?
I think they could do a segment, but maybe not a match.
I don't know if Jerry Lynn's going to do another match, but nonetheless, it's an interesting story that they've introduced here. Chris Jericho against Bandito for the ROH Championship with Ian Riccaboni and Bobby Cruz, who would be front and center at the end of this. Jericho makes fun of the handshake at the beginning, ending with the middle finger, and then Bandito. What a performance this guy had. Tope and Fosbury flop right out of the gate, and then he lifts up Jericho for the delayed vertical suplex and gets the crowd to count. And I'm just thinking, like, dude, he's going to make it to 20 would be awesome if he makes it to 20. Dude, he just keeps him hoisted up there. And he's keeping him up there. And just when the audience thinks he's going to have to let him down, he keeps going. And then this crowd just gets on their feet. And this audience, if they were not familiar enough with Bandito, this won them over. And they love this guy. And this seemed like a crowd that they totally were up to speed on who this guy was. And it really did add so much to the match because I thought Bandito just had an unbelievable performance, but it was aided by a crowd that got into all of his big stuff.
Agreed. Yeah. Even if you're only maybe more so familiar with Bandito in name, I think simply having him be in the main event, it's against Chris Jericho, somebody of the highest star power, and then seeing the performance itself is more than enough. It was the same effect at All In. Here's a guy that in Bandito that I wondered how many people prior to All In had even really heard of, but the confidence that they had in getting him to take that spot in the main event, I think, once you see him in action, it's well deserved.
Bandito follows with a frog splash, gets a big Eddie chant, then comes off the turnbuckle into a code breaker. They fight onto the edge, and Bandito lands a Rana, sending Jericho to the floor. We come back. There's blood on the mask of Bandito. Jericho hits the lion salt. Then Bandito goes for the X knee, and it's countered into the walls of Jericho. Bandito escapes, and they go onto the turnbuckle. And you can see Bandito lifting him up. And I just thought there was absolutely no way that they were going to try this. He hits the fallaway moonsault on Chris Jericho and landed it pretty goddamn flawlessly. I could not believe that he did this with Chris Jericho.
Well, I mean, it's really a move more so on Bandito, isn't it? And we know the man has freakish strength when it comes to the spot.
to rotate over with this individual. He then lands the X knee, and then the real sign here, he signaled for the 21 plex, and this place went nuts. They knew what he was signaling for. Hits it, huge near fall. Like, this crowd believed on several of these near falls that Bandito was going to win this match. And then Jericho flips the mask so it blinds Bandito. He gets the lion tamer, and Bandito is forced to tap as he's blinded. Awesome match. And to me, like, you want to talk about just I don't want to say like this was like star making or career making. Like, Bandito's had like a pretty strong career, but to come on to national television and have a match like this, I don't think you could ask for much better. Like, he came here, and to me, he won a job. I don't imagine how you could not bring this guy back. I love this main event.
On a roster that has, arguably been as bloated and, I don't know, lacking in TV time as like AEW might. It takes a hell of a performance to even like get people to, like the bar is set pretty high right now for AEW and perhaps winning the idea of like a spot on the roster. But coming out of this match, I completely think most people would completely like be happy if Bandito got a spot. Because he's that spectacular of a type of performer. He's the type of performer that, like, you just have to watch one of his matches in a high profile setting and he'll win you over. It's a hell of a way to, set this Chris Jericho ROH title defense run off. I mean, it's a great continuation of the incredible year in ring that Chris Jericho has had. We will look back at this year and like maybe he's already achieved it. It could be his best in ring year, like, thus far. Like, it's really been absolutely incredible, him having this sort of caliber of match with, like, people half his age, seemingly sometimes. It was great.
Yeah, just a outstanding match on the show. And then Jericho says the Ring of Jericho era has begun. He is changing what ROH is and will destroy its legend and beat every great champion that's ever held the Ring of Jericho title. And it's going to continue on October the 12th when he takes on Bryan Danielson in Toronto. And with that, attacks Bobby Cruise and hits him with the Judas effect to end the show.
God, what a main event for Toronto.
Is Bobby Cruise, was this his write-off? Is he not going to make it to Toronto? Will Jericho get his own ring announcer?
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, Cruz should sell it at least, but I mean, Toronto's 2 weeks away. I mean, that might be enough recovery time. We saw. No, Kerry took the bump and he didn't come back. True, you're right.
They were in his hometown. They were in Philadelphia.
You're right. So I guess Kerry walked it off and then had, the delayed repercussions of the attack of the next.
He's going to write off all these ROH stalwarts. Ian Riccaboni better look out.
I know, who else?
Caprice.
I mean, Caprice can handle himself, I'm sure. Does Paul Turner still count?
I guess anyone with ROH with an ROH lineage, he's going after. So
okay. I love the idea. Again, like, the best part about it all is that it puts a real spotlight on the brand of ROH, which they did more for ROH tonight than at any point throughout this entire run.